Welcome to Brobench release recap video. In this video, we're going to talk about Brobench release 4.4, codenamed Europa. So Europa is one of the 95 moons of Jupiter, which is very interesting. It has a lot of water, and so it's actually area of interest for NASA to go and explore and see if we can find some life. Okay, with that said, we have a lot of exciting things in this release, so let's go talk about them. Okay. First up, we have Query Builder. Okay, so you can go to the query and then go to the builder, and then this allows you to build a SOQL by point and click rather than typing up. So we support selecting fields from up to 5 different levels, both parent and the child, allow you to add some default fields automatically and select multiple weight classes, including any level of the expression groups, that you can add and or kind of conditions, and then you can execute them. So that's the query builder. So the next step, we have a query editor regions. So if you're like me, we're gonna have a lot of queries that's stored in the editor, and so that we use across various things. It can be quite painful, when you have to find something. So now we support something called the region. Okay, so you can give a meaningful name to the region, and then you'll be able to minimize that region so that you can collapse that particular the area of the query together. Okay, and also they show up as part of the outline. So that comes to the next feature that we're adding is the editor outline. So you can do Command O or a Control O in Windows or a Command O in Mac. And when you do that, it brings up this particular dialog with a summary of the queries that you have. So keep in mind it has only the select and the from of the classes supported this time, but more classes will be added. So this lets you search and shows all the regions, and then you can click on it, and then you can navigate directly to that particular one. So this should give you so easy way to navigate for that particular area. And of course, you always have this Control F search within a editor. You can search for something and then you go about, but this gives you a little bit of more easier summary of way of visualizing it. And it shows the regions, and then you can just search for the region. Let's say if you enter region, it shows all the regions, and then you'll be able to navigate that. Okay. So next up, we have a support for hard delete and the undelete. So let's say I go and query some records. Okay. So, and then of course I can delete this record as you would before. I can go to the edit mode, and I can right here and set delete. Now you can hard delete as well. So let's say if you want to hard delete this particular data, you can right click and say hard delete. And because of the fact that when you hard delete, the data is gone from the recycle bin and they have no way to get it back. So we have an additional prompt so that you'll be reminded that you're trying to hard delete. Are you sure? Keep in mind that all the operations are staged, right? So that they are not actually immediately saved to the server. You can make all the changes, you can make edits. Let's say I want to delete another record, so you can then finally can go and save it. Until you save it, the changes are not saved. Okay, so they are local. Of course, you can get out of the edit mode, and all the changes will be brought back in or reverted to whatever the state is. Okay, so that is a hard delete, and similar to that we also added a support for undelete. So if you have deleted some records which are in the recycle bin, you can right click and say undelete, and that'll work only if the is deleted status is deleted true, and if that's the case, and then you'll be able to go and then undelete that particular record. So that is the support for hard delete and the undelete capability in the Brobench. Okay. Next up, we have Datagrid column filters. So remember, so far we have had support here, so that will actually support searches across uh, across the data grid. But there are two issues with that. One is that it is very quick, easy, straightforward. But if you have a lot of data, it can take some time because it searches across all the columns. And then if the same word is matching in multiple columns, you wouldn't know if you want to list by within that one particular column, you wouldn't be able to do that. So that's where the grid filters comes into the picture. So let's say I want to show the grid filter for this particular one. You can say filter, show rows with the selected values. It's going to show the rows where the web appears in that particular, where value equals to web on that particular column. Okay, and you do have other options like go hide the rows with the selected values, so the blank rows, so on and so forth. And also you do have a capability go and do a little bit more advanced search here. For example, instead of just the equals, you can do contain search, show me wherever this value is there in this column. For example, if it's a date, you can do greater than, less than, or in between, those kind of operations. So that is a grid filters. Okay, so it's a very highly capable. So go check out the full the release notes for the grid filters to understand it. Okay, so let's go clear them up. Okay, so the next step, so we have a Datagrid row grouping. So the row grouping is a process of identifying the unique values for a particular one or two columns and then creating summary for rest of the columns, right? So that is you would do typically, group by in SOQL and then it group bys and shows, min, max, whatever. But the group by in Salesforce has some limitations. For example, you can't create more than 2000 groups. If you're creating the groups more than 2000, it's gonna error out. So this is where you can use it for any of that, any level of data in this particular local group by. Okay. For example, let's say I want to group by this particular one. I can go to the group and say add to groups. So it groups by the account source. So it shows all the various account sources and the corresponding other summary information. By default, the summary function is a distinct, but you can do change that. For example, let's say I want to change this summary to list. So that will show the list of values within that particular group, so on and so forth. And of course, you can copy all of this data, the summary data into CSV and export as a Excel, so on and so forth. So you have a lot of options. You can add the multiple values into this particular one. Okay, so let's go back into the group. Okay, so you can add multiple fields to the groups, and then it shows within that particular what are the values, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is a data grid row grouping. Okay, so combine this with the column filters, so you have a lot of capability, yeah, how you want to understand your data and how you want to summarize your data. Okay, next step, we have a event log file viewer. Okay, so event log files are set of files the Salesforce generates if you have subscription, or by default it generates for some events, and it's a lot of information in those event files. And there is a native event log file browser in Salesforce, but it just lets you download one single file at a time, and then it doesn't let you view, and there is no metadata enrichment. So that is where the Brobench can enhance that particular experience. Okay, so you can go and view a particular this one, and then it will actually download all the data. It enhances, it actually augments the user ID information. Typically, remember, you just get the user ID, you don't get additional information. In this case, it adds the user information, and if it is a report, it also adds the report name along with the ID, so that you can make sense of which report it is downloaded, so on and so forth. But at least you're gonna, wherever we have a report ID, that's gonna happen, and wherever we have a user ID, you're gonna have additional user information. Okay, so that is the event log file browser, and we do have other capability in terms of viewing multiple files at a time, or viewing data for a particular user, so that even if you're viewing in hundreds of MBs of file, you can minimize your the consuming so many system resources by just filtering out the data. So other capabilities. So go check out the full the release notes and documentation for additional details. Okay. So the next step, so we have a email logs. Okay, so the email logs is Salesforce has a capability to uh, you know uh, generate the logging analytics. It just lists those files. It doesn't let you view them and all that. So we've provided a viewer, so you don't have to go about downloading them and try to open another one. So here you can go and then list all the files, and then you can click one of them, view, and then it will show the details of that particular email log. Okay, so keep in mind that there is no API support, so we are using a little bit of screen reading technology here. It may not be 100% accurate in terms of the number of lists that shows up, or if they have multiple pages, for example, in SFTC, but the details should be accurate enough. Okay. Next up, so we have a deploy results enhancements. So in the previous versions, we have added deploy results, but it was showing one deployment details at a time. Okay, so in this iteration, we have enhanced so that you can view, of course, continue to view the single deployment, and then you can select multiple of them, and then it's going to combine the results across all the multiple of them, and then it will show those details. So this can be very invaluable. Let's say if you want to see all the deployments that were done a particular date and time, and then you can select them, and then you'll be able to see what deployments have been done as part on that particular day, right? You can search across multiple of them. Okay, so we do have a capability to filter, so you can easily see what deployments, which were failed, success, so on and so forth. So those are the deploy results enhancements in this particular release. Okay. Next step, so we have arg limits enhancements. So similar to this one, the arg monitor has a capability called arg limits that shows all the your arg limits, daily, hourly, monthly, all the limits exposed. Uh, in this iteration, we have added a support for saving the snapshot, so that you can go here and say save snapshot, and then it will create a snapshot of the file, and then you'll be able to view it. Okay, you can compare that when you come back the next time. Okay. Next step, so we have a copy other enhancements. So remember, we talked about here. You can go. Let's go get rid of the groups. Okay, can click here. Okay, so we have Brobench has a great way to copy this information in a various other ways. In this one, we are adding quite other few capabilities. For example, you can go copy other and then say copy as a Apex insert. So this will copy Apex script that you want to view. For example, this is how it'll copy that particular data. Let's go and see here. Okay, so this is how it looks when you copy as a Apex insert, or you can say copy as Apex update, and it will create a update script. It will copy only the columns, but if you select a single column, then it's going to copy for all the all the all the column values. Okay. We do have a capability to copy as, for example, let's say you want to share something in a chat or with a friend or an email, you can copy as a text table. So in a text mode, it'll look great. For example, let me go make it a little bigger. I can see that this will look like this. Okay, like this. It's pretty interesting format, so you'll be able to easily see that. If you have a long text, of course, it skews a little bit, but if you have shorter data, it can be a great way to share that way. And we do have other ways to copy, for example, in-class string or a JSON array or a markdown table. For example, let's say you are putting this into, wiki or someplace, you can copy it in a markdown format. You can directly put it in there. Okay, so that is the copy other enhancements. Okay. Okay, so next up, we have API Explorer Response JSON path. Remember, Brobench has an awesome API Explorer. You can go here and explore. So for example, let's say subjects account describe, and you can do that. It shows the details, and we have enhanced how the search displays. Remember, if it by default it just does the field search. Let's say I want to search by just this particular field name, enter that, and then it shows all the lines where that is used. But it is saying this is not a valid JSON, it's just a line search. But if you want to search by accurate JSON, then actually you can go by do the JSON path. So JSON path starts with a dollar symbol, so anytime you enter a dollar symbol, we understand it's a JSON path. Then after that, you'll be able to do like that. So if, for example, in this case, it's listing only the fields, right? For example, let's say fields, I want all of them. Okay, and then the name, Okay, so it gets only the name in a JSON format, or if you just want to type, so it gets all the types in a JSON format. Okay, so this is the JSON path filtering in the API response. So go and explore the JSON path syntax, and you can use any of the syntax and look for help, of Brobench help, where we have linked where you can learn about that particular syntax. Okay. This is about Brobench, the version 4.4, codenamed Europa release recap. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And if you do, please do share and then comment for any feedback. Thank you.